Hi there. Have you ever sat and wondered what shapes your reality? Or what your life would be like without your television set, your radio, Facebook, Twitter, CNN? Have you ever stopped and wondered, have I ever been lied to and have no idea that I have been? Or perhaps the best question, would I know if I was being mind controlled and hypnotized? These are some very great questions, I believe. Good questions that kind of lead us into the topic that I am presenting you with today. And for the next few set of videos that I do, I'm starting a series on this. His name is MK Ultra. MK Ultra, I believe, is one of the biggest pieces to knowing the truth about how we got here. So I have only one piece of evidence, or not evidence, one video presenting a whole bunch of pieces of evidence, I should say, that I have found for you. And I actually found it on my husband Jamie's channel. His channel is Prodigal Son, and if you get a chance to check out the video on his channels, it's not him talking, it's just a bunch of videos that he's found with the best resources in them. So I found this video on his channel, Prodigal Son, but it was not, it was from a channel that I used to watch years ago. And it's funny because I wanted to link the video right to his channel because he made the video, but I couldn't find it on his channel anywhere. So when I checked it out, I ended up just, for some reason why he doesn't have it on his channel, I'm not sure. But anyway, so it's basically, this video is linked now to my husband Jamie's channel. So this video gets into a lot of, it's an introductory phase to MK Ultra because like I say, there's many pieces to MK Ultra. The television is just where to start. But it has, I believe, had the most impact on our lives as a society and has taken us to where we've gotten in a very, very quick amount of time. So if you look at the 50s, when I think is when, not everyone, but the people that could afford them, which was probably not that many people back then, that started in the 50s, right? So you look at I don't know, some of the shows that were on. They were good, wholesome shows. I mean, I don't know, The Honeymooners, I Love Lucy. You know, a few years later, we have shows like Little House on the Prairie. Those were good, wholesome, we would consider Christian values, morals, and, you know, society was certainly way different back then, and the shows back then show it. So if you look at that, they came in, those television programs, and I want you to think about that word and what that means, because that is huge in this, because we are told the truth in increments in speech, language. We just don't pay attention. So those programs were kind of where we were at in society at the time, right? How quickly did that change, though? I mean, if you look at the 50s, it wasn't that long ago, and now look where we are. We're 2022. Society's changed a lot, but hadn't seemed to change a whole lot before that for a very long time. So you'd have to wonder, what's one of the main things that changed? So then you just slowly could see the increments change in the programs you were watching. But it's not only to do with the television shows that you watch. You're being hugely programmed by things, and you have by certain news outlets that you have no idea. You are being hypnotized, and truly, I believe you're being hypnotized and mind control every day when you watch the news. And so the video I have found for you starts out that way, and it starts out kind of telling you that you've been programmed and hypnotized, and how they do it is that they put you in an alpha state. Because you see, people think that, and it explains it in this video, that a TV is static, that it doesn't move, but in fact, it moves so quickly that you can't see it. Your naked eye can't see. So it's a flicker rate. There's always flickers. There's always a frequency going on, right, that you can't see. And so an alpha state, which is what the frequency that they choose, which they could choose others, and it says it in this video, but they don't. They choose a frequency and that flicker rate that hypnotizes you into an alpha state, even though they could use any other frequency and it wouldn't do that. They've decided to use the one that does put you in a trance. So if you go back to the 60s, and it's described in this video, you'll remember, I know in Canada, I remember when I was a kid, we used to have the test pattern overnight. And I don't even know really what that test pattern was all about. But it used to be, even before that, like when there wasn't enough programs, I guess, to keep TV going, that's when they would have the test pattern, right? But at the end of the day, and there wasn't end of the day then, I think they didn't have programming through the night, they would have the sign off at night. And in the US, they would have, well, I guess, I don't know if Canada did it or not, but the US would have their anthem and the sign off at the end of the evening. So that was the anthem, and it was played on national television for years in the 60s. I don't know how many decades, maybe. And so, and then it shows it in this video. The words on the screen to the anthem are there, but then they slow the video down to show you that there are certain lines hidden under what you think you're watching. You think you're watching all of the words to the anthem at the bottom of the screen, so you'll know the words. But actually, if you slow it down, the frames down, you will see hidden messages to do with the U.S. government in them. And so if you watch Truth Stream Media is the little excerpt in this video, and they break it down for quite a while, and show you exactly what it says there. And I can I've watched it so many times, this video slowed down, I can kind of see it, but I kind of don't. And like she says, that's because you're not meant to see it. You're not meant to know that you've seen it, but your subliminal, your unconscious mind, not your conscious mind, your unconscious mind is supposed to see it and play it back to you without you even really understanding it or knowing that it is. And so that is how a lot of this programming through TV happens. So, like I said, there's going to be many, many, many facets to this. There is the CIA was involved in projects to do with MK Ultra. There's a lot. There'll probably end up being probably 12 videos that I can do. It takes in a lot of scope, not just that we have been brainwashed and manipulated, but there has been certain programs to actually program people through military works, MK Ultra victims, and through medicine and all of this. So like I said, it's only music. There is just so much to this. So sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here because I won't want to forget any of this. If you've ever watched a child, you can see this alpha state. You can see their mouth drop open. They're entranced. It's a trance. And it's really when you can see that no other programs except your news programs start with this whole counting up and counting down. Not all of them, but a lot of them use flashing, and it shows all this. It shows the mechanics and the symbols of all of this in this video. It shows a countdown and then a count up. All of these principles are used in hypnosis, and you get them right before the news, right? You don't get them before any other programs, but it's before the news that you get them. Also, if you watch CNN often, which I certainly don't, I don't recommend it, you will see at the bottom of the screen that, I don't know what they call it, but it's continuously with the news, like just crawling across you, just continuously feeding you news across the bottom of the screen. That is another tactic they use in brainwashing and feeding you information. In this video, you will find a clip of, well, you'll find a few clips of George Bush Jr. And he's in one of the videos, he's actually, and I forget the actual quote, but he says, basically, I'm not going to quote him exactly, but basically what he said was, he was being interviewed and he said, and he repeated whatever, I don't know if it was something about 9/11, but he repeated his sentence to, a time or two. And he said, in my job, you realize that you have to repeat the truth, he says, many times, he says, in order for it to sink into people. He says, and this is literally what he says, you got to catapult the propaganda. So he admits right there, they admit to you that they are feeding you propaganda. They really do. And that you are being programmed, because let's face it, that's what we watch, is television programming, or some of us do. I haven't watched TV since 2017. I do watch YouTube and try to do it for educational purposes or whatever, but I do not, no, turn that thing off. Or, I believe we wouldn't have had the big C, whatever, a few months ago or a couple years ago now, if it wasn't for that. But anyway, that's another video. So if you look, even, like I said, the English language gives a lot of this away. But if you look at the word television and you break it down, it actually, if you break it down into syllables, it gives you tell a lie to your vision, is basically what it spells. So that's kind of a clue right there. Like, these people are evil. They have magic spells that they do on you. You have no idea, and I'm going to try to connect it all eventually to show you how they do it. But it's a spell being put on you when you sit down in front of that screen and just let it all sink in without question. And I mean, if you questioned it, fine. And if you went for your own answer to see if they were lying, then fine. But what do? We trust the people. And trust is part of this hypnotic thing. And it's, if you just let someone give you the information, is what we've been taught to do. Trust those who give us the information, like your teachers, your clergymen. All of those people are supposed to give you the information you need to keep yourself educated, right? Well, what if those teachers are teaching you wrong? What if they're all teaching you wrong because they've been taught wrong? And that is what I am trying to teach you, that watching television without question and questioning what you're watching, why that is so harmful, because it certainly is. Now, there is a clip on there talking about even children and how they're victims as well. And there's a woman on there, must be a child educator, I guess, and she starts talking about, sorry, I've got an itchy nose. I need to keep doing that. And she's talking about how kids are, you plunk them in front of the TV and think they're going to learn something from these educational programs. And she mentions Baby Einstein. And it's funny because my youngest child, he was born in that Baby Einstein era or whatever. So he was the best baby. He was my third, and he was the best baby really I had for those first 2 years. Like, he would nap for 3.5 hours. He was a really great fit to our family, because we were busy and whatever. I had 2 other younger boys, or older boys, and he just seemed to fit in because he loved his bed, he loved to sleep, he was easy to get along with, until he turned 2. And then he turned ADHD on me, just totally opposite, no attention whatsoever. And our nanny, we had a live-in nanny when I was back then, when they were little. She, I think, was the one that actually bought him the Baby Einstein, because that's what people were told. Oh, educate your baby, but and I plunked my kids in front of the TV a lot. Nobody knew that. Now it's what? I know by the time my niece was born a few years ago, she's 6 now, it's like, oh no, like, it's recommended no screen time for the first 2 years of life. And of course I'm thinking, well, how about your whole life? But 2 years is now recommended. That they don't watch any TV to. And I just wonder, like, that Baby Einstein, and this child educator mentions that, how, what does that do to their minds when things are continuously flashing and bright colors, and, they're being so overstimulated in their mind? What does that do to them? And I always, I really wonder about the Baby Einstein thing, from my own personal experience with my, really, if he wouldn't have been not just that, but TV in general. I mean, that's certainly not the whole problem. I shouldn't have had my kids in front of the TV, but I did not know at the time it was a weapon. And when you know better, you do better, right? Kind of thing. And anyway. But it helps to know, and you'll see clips of this in this video, that those medias, like not the news media that you watch, your Fox, your CNN, they are all owned by the same people. And when you see clips, and I mean numerous clips of them all spouting the same script basically the same way, you know they are television actors that are given a script by their bosses, and they might say, Fox might say that they're against CNN, and CNN might say they're whatever. They're all part of the same unit to give you a certain perspective from what you were watching. So you'll see clips of that. And so there's also, you can see Bush. There's, of course, this video goes quite a bit, well, a few things it puts up about 9/11. And, of course, I remember I had my second baby right after 9/11. And I remember sitting there breastfeeding him and just continuously binging on CNN. And I mean binging, like I was glued to it because I was really distraught over the whole thing. I just had a baby. I thought that, we lost our innocence, kind of lost my innocence over it. Like anything can kind of happen, I was really caught up in the whole thing. And so in this video, it will show Bush and his, what happened at that time. It was continuous terrorism. I don't know how many times he said that word, either terror or terrorism. And it was just constant. And, it's so obvious. And then they go on to show clips of Ebola, when the Ebola breakup happened. It was just continuous, Ebola. And, something else that happened at the time of 9/11 was, of course, all of these threats of anthrax. And there's just anthrax everywhere in the media. Everyone's talking about anthrax. And it just shows they all are from the same script. They're all showing you the same things. Repetition is huge in brainwashing, mind control, hypnosis, whatever you want to think of, Now, there is part of this video that if you're not used to hearing the truth, there is a part in this that you will may even take offense to. I don't know. The first time I heard it, and it's still hard for me to accept and understand. And I'm not going to get into it in this video. I want you guys to watch that video, and I want you guys to, I want you to watch the video for yourself. So I'm not going to go into really what it is, but I will mention crisis actors. And so when you watch this part, it goes heavily into that there is definitely, and you can look it up for yourself. There are websites that clearly state that they are hiring, or they hire out actors for crisis events. Okay, crisis events. What kind of crisis events could we be talking? And it happens to mention a certain school. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say. But I really want you to look at that, because there's going to be people that look at that and say, that is nuts. They could not orchestrate something like that. That cannot be right. It has to be real. And it wasn't any kind of false flag. But anyway, you need to really, because the first time that you hear the truth, you are going to say that's ridiculous. And no, because it's something that doesn't fit right in your spirit. You've been told your whole life the way things have been, right? You've been told your whole life without question, and you've gobbled it up, and this is the way things are. When you start to hear something that is counterproductive to that, or counter whatever that you've based your life on, it is going to make you go the other way and say, I don't want to hear it. And you're going to say, that is ridiculous, and I don't even want to think about that. But you need to think about wondering if certain events are staged. Really, this is a huge part to understanding what that TV has done. So, and of course, with these teenage shootings, I mean, what has been, there's always an agenda in the lurk, right? What's the agenda there? If they were staging something like that with some of them, and I'm not going to say all of them, that's up for you to decide. You get the information, you figure it out. But if they were, what would be the agenda? Because there's always agendas. It's what you have your TV for, an agenda. an overall agenda, basically new world order, and this little tiny agendas. And it would be gun control, working towards that, gun control. So, you can balk at it or whatever, but I would definitely think about it. Just think about it. And so, sorry, I was just looking over my notes, making sure I mentioned everything. If any of you are fans of The Simpsons, I would really, really, really consider thinking about some of their episodes. I'm just saying. I mean, has any other television program predicted everything like The Simpsons, from 9/11 to, some people even say, the truckers? Don't know, but I'm telling you, how do The Simpsons know? And that'll give you something to think about. So this video at the end even goes as far as to talk about education and the dumbing down of society, the dumbing down of your children. And what you will notice, I don't know if any of you have seen my, I have a 6-part series, or it's only really 5 right now, on our medical system, our current medical system. If any of you have seen that, this is a dot to connect. In one of them, I don't know which one, it might be the one on cancer. I have there talking about Rockefeller medicine. And if you look at education and you hear what they have to say in this video, it's the same thing with our education system. The education and the medical system are both Rockefeller. They are. That's where they came from. That's where it came from. And, there's more dots to connect and to go deeper on that. But literally, your Rockefeller medicine and your Rockefeller education, that's where it's coming from. So they talk about on this how one of the key points they made, how they changed and dumbed down, was even talking about phonics as opposed to sight words. And so I think even my mother had those readers with Jane and Dick and all them. Or I don't know. I did for sure. I think even my mother did back whenever she was, quite a while ago. But before that, it was all phonics. It was the way that words... Well, I think they probably back in that system had both. Had the teaching of phonics and the sight words. But now the kids just get sight words. And they're not taught how to literally sound something out. So basically, unless... what I would say, I don't know, but it seems like if they haven't ever seen the word, they're never going to know what it is. Whereas if they could sound it out, they'd have that tool and they'd be able to figure it out, right? Just things like that have changed in your education system, and it's been a dumbing down. And the dumbing down hasn't just started at school. Really, it started with your television set before school. But I think that your television set probably had a lot to do with setting you up for your education system and the dumbing down of it. So why dumb people down? They don't want to think in society. They want to brainwash society that will do what they want. That's basically where we're headed. And people have to realize that. So I think basically one more thing just to think about. One more thing. The term conspiracy theory, and it's mentioned in this video. Time to talk about that. If you look up the definition of conspiracy theory, I'm not sure what you're going to get. I know what you used to get. I haven't checked it out. But a conspiracy theory, in its truest definition, and I don't know how you could get any other definition out of this, is a theory about a group of people, large or small, that have conspired, that are getting together to conspire, keep secret their plans to bring about a certain outcome. That is what a conspiracy theory is, okay? The next time you hear conspiracy theory on the news, I want you to listen to what their definition is, because it is not the same. Their definition now is basically any subject or any any explanation, put it that way, any explanation that someone has that does not fit the official narrative on their television set, i.e. their mainstream news. That mainstream news that you're hypnotized with every time you watch it. The countdown up, or the count up, the countdown, the sigils, the quickness, the thing at the bottom of the screen, all of that stuff that makes you in a trance. And that is what they want you to believe. And if you don't believe that, you're a conspiracy theorist, which means you're a kook, you're a nut. You believe something that, oh my goodness, why would a bunch of rich, evil men want to conspire against us? Don't know. That's for you to find out. So anyway, that's my video. This is my introductory video. Like I said, there'll be many more. This is just the beginning on my MK Ultra series. If you like this video, and to keep me connecting dots with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And my next video out, I hope to have out within the next week or two. Anyway, until then, see you later.